In the winter of 1873, when snow buried the land deeper than grief and silence spoke louder than guns, a story unfolded, quiet as a heartbeat, brutal as truth. This tale isn't written in books or taught in schools. It lives in the frost-bitten breath of the mountains and the ashes of a forgotten fire. It's about a girl taken when she thought she had nothing left to lose, and a warrior who touched the edge of her pain and never came back the same. She was a preacher's daughter, raised to fear the wild. He was a warrior, born to fight everything the white man brought with him. When fate threw them into the same storm, neither expected to survive each other, let alone see the parts of themselves they'd buried long ago. And yet, beneath a blood-red sunset and the silence of falling snow, something ancient stirred, something deeper than war or fear. When she whispered, "Please, don't lift my skirt," she wasn't guarding modesty. She was guarding scars. And when he did, he didn't see shame. He saw her soul, and it shattered what was left of his. This is not a love story. It's a wound, a reckoning, and you won't leave it the same. Like this story so far, if it's pulling at something in your chest, or if you just love a good Wild West mystery, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. And tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love seeing how far these stories ride. Now back to the tale. 1873, Montana Territory. The wind had teeth that night. It howled through the snow-covered pines like a mother mourning her child, ripping at the torn canvas of the abandoned wagon as if trying to claw memory from wood. The sky was heavy with winter's fury, and the moon, swollen and pale, watched with indifferent silence. Beneath it, Clara Whitmore ran. Her boots were soaked through, leaving red-tinged prints in the snow, one for every heartbeat threatening to quit. The cut on her thigh pulsed with pain, warm blood trickling down, staining the hem of her torn skirt. Behind her, the wagon convoy burning, her father's Bible, still open in the preacher's hands when they shot him. Her mother's locket, yanked from Clara's neck when she fought back, and her brother, Samuel, dead before he could reach his rifle. She didn't know how far she'd run. She didn't care. The cold had sunk into her bones, but the terror burned hot enough to keep her moving, until she couldn't. Her legs folded beneath her just as the trees opened up into a clearing. Her body hit the snow hard, face first, the world turning black with the sound of boots crunching behind her. Hands grabbed her. She screamed, wordless, raw, a language born of grief and fire. Then darkness. When she woke, her body was wrapped in furs that didn't belong to her. The air smelled of smoke and pine. She blinked slowly, vision blurry, and saw the inside of a circular dwelling. Wooden poles tied at the center, hides stretched across to hold out the wind. A fire flickered low in the middle, glowing orange and gold. She tried to sit up. Pain stabbed through her thigh. She gasped, falling back, and that's when she saw him. He sat in the far corner, eyes fixed on her. Tall, still, skin bronzed by the sun and scarred by the blade. His hair was black and braided down his back. He wore no war paint, but he didn't need it. His silence was armor enough. She flinched, dragging the furs higher around her. "Don't," she croaked, voice dry and cracking. "Please, don't lift my skirt." His brows furrowed, but he didn't move, didn't speak. "Please," she said again, softer this time, curling into herself. Still, he said nothing, just stared, as if he could read the story behind her words without needing the language. She passed out again before she could understand what his eyes were saying. Talon did not understand the girl's tongue, not all of it, but he knew fear. He'd seen it in the eyes of white soldiers when their blood pooled in the grass. He'd seen it in the trembling of young warriors before their first kill. But this girl, her fear was different. Not of death, not of him. She was afraid of being seen. He had not wanted her. He had argued when the others took her, said the white woman would be nothing but trouble. She should have died with her people like the others, clean, quick. But her blood had soaked into the snow, and she hadn't stopped crawling. She fought like an animal, wild and weeping, Something about that had clung to his thoughts. So when the medicine man said she would die from infection unless treated soon, Talon had taken her. Not for pleasure. Not for mercy. He told himself it was just to see what she would become when the blood dried. Now she lay still, her face twitching in fevered sleep. The wound on her thigh was festering. He had seen such wounds take stronger men. He would have to clean it. Soon. Clara drifted between waking and dream, her father's voice calling to her through snowflakes, her mother's lullaby sung through chattering teeth, the smell of burning cloth, then pine smoke, then blood. She tried to scream, but her voice wouldn't obey. When she finally came fully awake, the pain hit her like a hammer. She bit down on her knuckles to keep from screaming. He was still there, the warrior. This time he was sitting closer, grinding something with a stone in a carved wooden bowl. She watched him, every nerve tight as a wire. Her eyes flicked to the entrance. No door, just a hanging flap. Could she run? He looked up. "Stay," he said. The word was rough, heavily accented, but clear. She froze. He reached into the bowl, lifted a thick, earthy paste on his fingers, pointed to her leg. "No!" she shouted, scrambling backward. Her hands clutched the fur tightly to her chest. "Don't touch me." He raised both hands slowly, showing he wasn't holding a weapon. He looked annoyed, maybe insulted, but not angry, not yet. Then, carefully, he dipped a cloth into hot water near the fire, set it aside, reached for a different pouch. Clara's breath came in short gasps. "What do you want from me?" He didn't answer, just pointed again to her leg. "Please, don't lift my skirt." She hadn't realized she was crying until her tears hit her lip. The warrior lowered his eyes, not in shame, but as if to say, "I won't look unless I have to." Then he stood and turned his back to her. She sat frozen for a long time, the pain screaming louder now. She looked at her leg, the bandage soaked through, black lines spreading from the wound. She would die if she did nothing. Her hands trembled as she unwrapped her leg, inch by inch, wincing as fabric peeled away from the dried blood. The gash was worse than she thought. Swollen, angry, the flesh hot and hard beneath the skin. "I can't," she whispered. And then, as if summoned by her breaking point, he turned. She didn't stop him this time. Talon did not flinch. Not when he saw the wound. Not when she whimpered in pain. He worked in silence, wiping the pus and blood, pressing the paste into the open flesh. She clawed the furs, bit her lip until it bled, and stared at the ceiling. He saw it then, just above the wound. A mark. It was old, healed, but deep. A burn. A brand. He had seen it before. Long ago, on the chest of a settler soldier who had taken part in the massacre at Whispering Rock. A sunburst symbol, small and precise, branded into the skin like cattle. Only this time it was on the thigh of a girl. The fury that surged through him was unexpected. He stared at the mark too long. "Don't look at it," she snapped. Her voice was hoarse, but strong. "Don't look at me." He met her eyes then. Something passed between them. Not understanding, but something close. He finished wrapping the wound. Then, without a word, he stood and stepped outside. She didn't sleep that night. Neither did he. By the third day, Clara could sit up on her own. Her leg throbbed, but the swelling had gone down. The fever faded. Still, she didn't speak to him unless she had to. She watched him through slitted eyes. He didn't speak much. Spent hours carving things from bone, feeding the fire, sitting still. Once, she caught him watching her cry in silence. He didn't look away, just passed her a piece of dried meat and walked out. She ate it. She hated that she was grateful. On the fifth day, voices echoed outside. Loud, angry. She sat up fast, heart pounding. Talon stepped in, looking tense. Two older men entered behind him. One pointed at Clara and spoke rapidly in Lakota. Talon answered in the same tongue. Firm, dismissive. The man barked something that made Talon's jaw tighten. The other warrior reached for Clara, but Talon stepped between them. For a moment, she thought blood would spill. But after a heated exchange, the The two men stormed out. Talon turned to her, chest rising and falling. "What was that?" she whispered. He didn't answer, but later, when he brought her water, he sat closer than usual, just at the edge of her reach, and for the first time he asked, "Name?" She blinked. "Clara." He nodded slowly. "Talon." The name suited him. She said nothing more, but when he left the teepee, she whispered his name once into the air, just to see how it felt in her mouth. It felt like a secret she didn't want to keep. Outside, the wind had quieted, but a different kind of storm was gathering. Talon knew the elders wouldn't tolerate her presence much longer. Already, the younger warriors whispered, said he had gone soft, said she had bewitched him. He told himself he didn't care, but when he looked at her sleeping form, curled up, peaceful, her chest rising slow and steady, he felt something he hadn't in years. Fear. Not of her, of what she might mean, of what it would cost to keep her alive, and what it would destroy in him to let her go. The sun crept over the snow-drenched pines like a dying ember, casting long shadows that bled across the frozen ground. Inside the teepee, Clara sat cross-legged, knees drawn up to her chest, wrapped in a buffalo hide that still smelled faintly of smoke and cedar. Her wound had scabbed over, but the ache hadn't left her. Neither had the weight in her chest, the kind that pressed down in quiet moments, when her thoughts wandered to the way her father's face looked in the firelight before the ambush, to the sound her brother made when he was shot. A short gasp. Nothing heroic, just human. Talon had been gone all morning. She noticed when he wasn't nearby, not just because she felt safer when he was, though she hated herself for that, but because the camp felt colder, less still when he wasn't near. She didn't belong here. Every second she stayed, she risked reminding someone that she was the enemy. But Talon kept her breathing, fed her, protected her. And so long as he did, no one dared lay a hand on her. That kind of power came at a price, and she didn't know if she could afford it. Footsteps approached outside. She tensed. Then the flap lifted. It wasn't Talon. It was a younger man, barely more than a boy. His face was narrow, curious, with sharp eyes that lingered too long. He crouched slowly, one hand resting on a knife at his hip. "Hello," he said in broken English. "You talk now." Clara pressed back against the wall, clutching the fur tighter around her. "I know you speak," he continued, his tone teasing, but edged with something else. "Talon say you stubborn." She didn't answer. He grinned. "You pretty, even when scared." She felt her stomach twist. He reached forward, too fast, brushing a strand of her hair from her face. She jerked away, heart slamming in her chest. "Don't," she hissed. He tilted his head, mocking. "You say no to Talon too?" Before she could scream, the flap tore open again. Talon stood there like a storm. The younger man stood up quickly, his smile fading. A few words passed between them in Lakota, short, sharp, dangerous. Then Talon shoved the younger man back. Not hard, but hard enough to send a message. The boy left without another word, eyes darting between them like he wanted to spit, but didn't have the spine. Talon turned to Clara. Her shoulders trembled. She didn't want him to see her like this. Frightened again. Weak. But he saw. And this time he didn't pretend not to. He knelt by the fire and placed something in her lap. A small blade, dull but pointed. She looked at it, then at him. He pointed to it, then to her chest. "Keep," he said. "If bad come, you fight." She swallowed hard. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't answer right away, just stared at the fire. Then softly, "Because they do not see. You are already broken." She flinched, but he didn't say it like an insult. He said it like a man who knew the shape of grief because it mirrored his own. That night, a snowstorm rolled in, violent and howling. Wind screamed through the trees, and the teepee shuddered against the gusts. Talon reinforced the structure with rope and stakes, then came inside, dusted in white. The fire between them crackled, spitting little embers that died before they hit the hides. Clara watched him as he removed his outer furs and set them near the heat. For the first time, he looked tired. not just physically, tired in his bones. He sat beside the fire, not close, but not distant either. "Your people," he said slowly, "they pray." Clara nodded. "Who?" he asked. "Which spirit?" She hesitated. "God, the Christian God." Talon nodded, slowly. "The one with no face." She blinked. "What about you?" He reached into a pouch and pulled out a carved figure. A small buffalo worn smooth by years of touch. "This one," he said. "And the Great Mother." He held the figure toward her. She stared at it. "What do you pray for?" Talon's mouth twitched, but it wasn't a smile. "Forgiveness," he said. She wasn't sure if he meant for her or for himself. Later, when the storm grew worse, the teepee began to creak under the weight of snow and wind. Talon stood, grabbed extra furs, and reinforced the inside. The cold seeped through anyway, wrapping around her like icy fingers. When he came back in, he saw her shaking. Without a word, he sat beside her, draping a thick fur over both of them. She stiffened but didn't pull away. The firelight flickered across their faces. Outside, the wind roared like an angry god. "I used to be afraid of storms," she whispered. He didn't move. "When I was little, my father would sing hymns until I fell asleep. My mother would tell me it was God's way of cleaning the earth." She let out a bitter laugh. "Guess he missed a few spots." Talon looked at her, something unreadable in his eyes. "My wife," he said after a long silence. "She died in snow, like this." Clara turned her head slowly. "I'm sorry." "She was with child," he said. "Our first. The wagon she was in flipped in the storm. I found her the next day. Her face was—" He stopped. The fire popped. "I buried her under a cedar tree," he finished. Clara closed her eyes. "I would have done anything to bury my brother. They just left him, like trash." She pressed a fist to her mouth, choking back a sob. Talon didn't touch her, but he didn't leave either. When the storm finally passed, 2 days had gone by. The camp emerged from its snow shell slowly, like a bear waking from hibernation. Children laughed, warriors trained, and smoke curled upward from every tent. But something in the air had changed. Talon noticed the looks. Clara noticed the absence. The boy who had touched her, he was gone. No one would say why. That evening, Talon returned with 2 rabbits. He skinned them in silence while Clara plucked at the hem of her repaired skirt. "Where is he?" she asked finally. Talon paused. "Gone," he said. Clara felt her stomach twist. "You didn't kill him, did you?" "No." She stared at him. "Did you want to?" Talon looked at her, and for a brief moment, the fire reflected something savage in his eyes. "Yes." She didn't speak for a long time after that. The next day, the council sent for Talon. He returned late, jaw tight, expression unreadable. "They say you leave," he told her. "By sunrise." Clara felt the ground shift beneath her. "What? Why?" "Too long. Too many eyes. They fear change." "Where will I go?" He didn't answer. "I'll die out there," she said, voice rising. "I can't walk a mile without this leg giving out. You said I'd need weeks. They will not give you weeks." She stood, grabbing the wall for support. "Then come with me." The words escaped before she realized she meant them. Talon blinked, stunned. "No. Why not? I cannot live in your world. You cannot live in mine." "Then where do we live?" His silence was answer enough. That night, she sat outside the teepee, wrapped in her fur, staring at the moon. Talon joined her, crouching beside her in the snow. They didn't speak. He passed her a bundle. Inside, dried meat, a flint, and a folded piece of hide with markings drawn in charcoal, a crude map. "You made this for me?" He nodded. Clara swallowed hard. "You think I'll make it?" Talon looked at her, something soft in his expression. "I think you are stronger than you believe." Her hands trembled. "I don't want to go." He looked away. She leaned in slightly, her voice barely audible. "When you lifted my skirt, I thought I'd lose everything. My dignity. my last thread of safety. But instead, I think I got back the only piece of myself that hadn't been taken yet. Talon said nothing, just stared into the snow like he couldn't bear to meet her eyes. She reached out, her fingers grazing his. He didn't pull away. I don't want to forget you, she said. You won't, he replied. Not even if you try. By the time the first light hit the treetops, she was gone. The forest swallowed her small figure, a shadow between pines. Talon watched until she disappeared completely. Then he turned back to the camp, where the elders waited, where war loomed on the horizon. But something inside him had shifted. The cold no longer bit as hard. The wind no longer screamed, because part of his soul had left with her. And somehow, for the first time in years, that made him feel whole. Clara moved slowly, her limp worse with each mile, but she didn't stop. Not when the cold turned her hands numb. Not when her breath came out in clouds too shallow to warm her face. Not when her vision blurred from pain or hunger. The world around her was nothing but white and silence. But in her mind, everything screamed. Her father's voice, her brother's dying breath, her own cries under a blood-red sky, and over all of it, the sound of Talon's voice, calm, low, steady, like a river cutting through rock. He had sent her away before dawn. He hadn't kissed her, hadn't held her, but something heavier had passed between them. A goodbye meant for the soul, not the skin. Now, as she limped along the path he'd drawn on hide, she clutched the flint and dried meat he'd packed and thought of the way his fingers had brushed hers that last time. The way he hadn't said he loved her, but had looked at her like no man ever had. 3 days in, the snow stopped. She crossed a frozen stream, each step making the ice groan beneath her weight. A rabbit darted across the path and vanished. Her stomach growled, but she ignored it. She needed to reach the trading post. Talon said it was run by a white man who didn't ask questions, one who traded with natives and outcasts alike. It would be safe if she got there alive. By nightfall, her leg felt like fire. She found shelter beneath a rock overhang, curled into her furs, and tried not to cry. The stars blinked above, cold and indifferent. She dreamed of Talon, not the man, just his presence. When she woke, the fire was nearly out, and something was watching her. Eyes, 2 of them, glowing faintly. A wolf. Clara froze. Her heart beat so loudly she could feel it in her ears. The wolf was thin, ribs showing beneath its fur. Hunger had made it bold. She reached slowly for the dull blade Talon had given her. The wolf growled low. Clara stood, wobbling on her bad leg. Don't, she whispered, voice shaking. Please don't. She didn't mean the wolf. Not really. She meant the world. She meant fate. She meant whatever cruel god had watched her life burn and still hadn't looked away. The wolf lunged. She screamed and stabbed wildly. The blade caught fur, then flesh. The wolf yelped and twisted, teeth grazing her arm. She fell, rolled, kicked, and then it ran. Blood mixed with the snow. Her arm burned, but she was alive. Barely. She didn't walk the next day. Couldn't. She lay beneath the overhang, wrapped in furs, watching the trees move like ghosts in the wind. It wasn't supposed to end like this. She was supposed to survive, prove them all wrong, live long enough to haunt the dreams of every man who ever looked at her and saw something weak. She was supposed to start over, but hope was a cruel thing when it left you stranded. By the time the sky darkened again, she'd stopped shivering. That was bad. The body gives up the fight in stages, and this felt like the last one. She curled tighter, tried to imagine warmth. Her brother's hand ruffling her hair. Her mother brushing snow from her shoulders. Talon sitting by the fire, carving something in silence. She closed her eyes, and somewhere between sleep and death, she heard a voice. Not spoken, not in words. Get up. She opened her eyes. Snow fell lightly now, soft flakes landing on her cheeks. She forced herself to sit. The map, the one Talon had drawn. She pulled it from her pouch, opened the hide with trembling fingers. Just beyond the ridge, one more day. If she could make it to the ridge. She stood, every muscle screaming, and walked. The trading post appeared just before sundown the next day. A squat building of timber and stone, smoke curling from its chimney. A corral nearby with two tired-looking horses. No signs, no flags, just survival. Clara collapsed at the door. When she came to, she was lying on a cot inside, wrapped in clean blankets. The air smelled of tobacco and stew. A bearded man with tired eyes hovered nearby. "You're lucky," he said. "Another hour and you'd have lost that leg." She didn't speak. "You Talons?" Her eyes snapped to his. He chuckled. "He don't say much, but when he does, he means it. Said you'd come. Told me not to ask questions." "I don't." She wanted to cry. Instead, she said, "Thank you." He nodded and handed her a tin cup. "Drink, then rest. You're safe here. For now." Days passed. Her wounds healed, slowly. She helped clean the shop, feed the horses. She paid with labor, not coin, and the trader, whose name she learned was Elias, didn't press her for more. Still, she watched the road each day, waiting for Talon. He never came. Not after a week. Not after two. One morning, she asked Elias if he'd heard anything. He shook his head. He might not make it out. Tensions are bad. Armies moving through, pushing hard. "What do you mean?" Elias looked at her, serious now. "They're rounding up the Lakota, forcing them onto reservations. Raids are happening. Villages burned. Anyone who resists." He didn't finish the sentence. Clara stared at the floor. "But Talon's smart," Elias said. "He knows the woods, knows how to vanish." She nodded, but her hands shook for the rest of the day. That night, she sat by the fire and wept silently into her knees. Weeks passed, and then he came. She saw him first. Not his face, his silhouette, tall, still. Snow dusted on his shoulders like a crown. She dropped the crate in her hands and ran. He met her halfway. They didn't speak, just stood, forehead to forehead, breathing each other in like they'd been drowning, and finally broke the surface. His hand came to her cheek. "You came back," she whispered. "I said you wouldn't forget me." She laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Elias watched from the porch, muttering something about damn fools and storm clouds, but even he didn't interrupt. Inside, they sat by the fire. He looked thinner, eyes heavier. The world had carved more lines into his face since she last saw him. "Your people?" she asked. He didn't speak for a while. "Gone," he said. "Some dead, some scattered. And you?" "I ran. You survived." "Maybe." She reached for his hand. "I dreamed about you," she said. He nodded. "I came back because I couldn't sleep without seeing your face." She smiled, and then the door burst open. Soldiers, 3 of them, blue coats, rifles, everyone down. Elias raised his hands. "This is neutral land. Quiet." One soldier turned to Clara. "You, get up." Talon stepped between them, the rifle raised. "Move." Talon didn't. The soldier cocked the weapon. "Talon," Clara whispered, panicked. He turned to her. "I won't let them take you." The soldier sneered. "She's one of ours." "You're not." "She's mine." The crack of the gun was deafening. Clara screamed. Talon staggered backward, blood blooming across his chest. "No!" she screamed, catching him as he fell. The soldiers rushed forward. Elias tried to stop them, was thrown aside. Talon gasped, blood bubbling on his lips. Clara cradled him. "No, no, no, please." He reached up, weak, and touched her cheek. "You lived," he rasped. "Don't talk. Don't." "I saw your soul," he whispered. "It saved me." His hand fell. His eyes didn't close, but the light went out. The soldiers dragged her outside. Elias begged them to let her go. They didn't listen. Clara stared back at the door where Talon's blood still stained the wood. Her wrists were bound, but her eyes, they burned. And though the soldiers didn't know it yet, they just made the worst mistake of their lives. Because when a woman loses everything, she doesn't cry, she doesn't pray, she becomes the storm. The wagon wheels groaned under the weight of iron and winter. Clara sat in chains, her wrists raw from the bite of the shackles, her hair tangled and caked with dried blood. They hadn't let her wash. They hadn't fed her properly. The soldiers had orders: get her to the fort and ask questions later. The man she'd loved bled out in her arms, and still they treated her like she was the dangerous one. Her eyes, once wide with fear, had narrowed into a cold, distant stare. She didn't speak. Not when they mocked her. Not when they tugged her by the arm like livestock. Not even when they stripped the red and bone necklace from around her throat, the one Talon had carved for her, and tossed it into the snow like trash. She didn't scream, but inside her chest, something had torn open and never quite closed again. They took her to Fort Hawthorne, a wind-beaten outpost buried deep in the Montana frontier. It wasn't a courthouse. It wasn't even a prison. It was a cage, a holding pen, a place where outlaws and Indian sympathizers disappeared without a second thought. Justice was a whisper here. Men didn't wear it like a badge. They wore it like a mask. They threw her into a cold wooden cell beside a man who reeked of whiskey and blood. The guard slammed the door and smirked. "Maybe he'll keep you company," he said. Clara didn't even blink. The man in the cell tried to talk to her. She ignored him. She sat with her knees pulled up to her chest. The dull blade Talon gave her still hidden in her boot. They hadn't found it. That was their first mistake. The second was underestimating how much fire a woman could carry when she'd already lost everything. 3 days passed. Then, an officer finally entered with a piece of paper and a cruel smile. "You're being charged with sedition," he said, pacing slowly in front of her cell. "Assisting the enemy, harboring a fugitive native, theft of military supplies, resisting arrest." Clara looked up. "What evidence?" He chuckled. "You're alive, sweetheart. That's enough." She stood slowly, letting the chains clink down her sides. "I want a trial." He stepped closer. "No one's riding out to Washington for you. You're nothing." She studied him, memorized the scar near his ear, the way his hand twitched when he lied. "You're wrong," she said quietly. "I'm everything you're afraid of." That night, a blizzard swept in from the north. Snow slammed against the windows, rattling the shutters. The oil lamps flickered. The whiskey man in the next cell mumbled in his sleep, dreaming of sins he probably couldn't remember when sober. Clara stayed awake. Every breath she took in that cell was borrowed time, and when the guard on night duty finally dozed off, slumped in his chair with a bottle half empty beside him, she made her move. The blade came from her boot, quiet as a whisper. She used it to slip the rope that tied her to the wall, then picked at the lock on her shackles. It took time. Too much time. Her fingers were stiff from the cold, her breath fogged with panic. But Talon had shown her how. She slipped the cuffs. The door was next. The keys hung just out of reach on a hook near the guard. She moved slow, crawling across the floor on numb limbs, her heart pounding like war drums in her ears. She reached him. He snored. She took the keys, unlocked the door, freed herself. She could have run, but she didn't. Not yet. She found the room where they stored the prisoner's belongings. It wasn't locked. Her necklace, Talon's necklace, was still there. She wrapped it around her neck like armor. Then she took a rifle from the rack, not because she wanted to kill, but because she knew they wouldn't hesitate to kill her. She stepped into the hallway, and the blood began. The first guard barely had time to raise his pistol. She shot him through the chest. The second she hit in the leg. She didn't aim to kill, just stop. Panic exploded in the fort like fire through dry grass. Footsteps, screams, barked orders. Clara moved through it like smoke, quiet and sharp. She made it to the stables before the alarm bell rang. The horses reared and snorted, spooked by the gunshots. She found one with a dark mane and steady eyes, saddled it with shaking hands. By the time she rode out into the storm, the soldiers had found the first body. They'd follow. She didn't care. Let them come. She had nowhere left to run, but she knew where she had to go. Back to where it started. Back to the Lakota lands. Back to the fire. The snow swallowed her tracks, but it didn't slow her. She rode like a shadow through the forest, wind burning her face raw. Days blurred, hunger gnawed at her belly. Her injured leg throbbed with each step of the horse. But she didn't stop. She was no longer the girl who had cried when her skirt was torn. She was something else now. Something older. Something dangerous. She found the village, or what was left of it, on the fourth day. Burnt-out tents. Ashes. Blood frozen into the snow. Buzzards circled above the trees. Clara dismounted and walked slowly through the ruins, her boots crunching over shattered pottery, scattered beads, the pieces of lives torn apart by greed and orders. She found bones. She found remnants of dolls, spearheads, a broken drum. She dropped to her knees in the center of it all, the wind shrieking through the trees like it mourned. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Behind her, a branch snapped. She turned sharply, rifle raised. A woman stood there, older, wrinkled, eyes dark with recognition. Clara didn't lower the weapon. The woman pointed at the necklace. "You knew him," Clara said. The woman nodded. They stared at each other, the wind whipping their hair into their eyes. Then the woman turned and walked deeper into the woods. Clara followed. They came to a hidden camp, small, quiet, almost invisible beneath the trees. A few survivors remained. Women, children, old men. Clara stood at the edge, unsure if she was welcome. But the old woman called out something in Lakota, and slowly, one by one, they turned. A boy approached, maybe 9. He pointed at the necklace. Clara pulled it off gently, handed it to him. He clutched it to his chest, then hugged her. It was that simple. They didn't ask questions. They fed her, gave her clean clothes, let her sit by the fire without judgment. For the first time in weeks, Clara slept without fear. In the days that followed, she learned their names. They taught her how to trap rabbits, how to follow the sun, how to listen when the trees spoke. She wasn't one of them, but she wasn't a stranger either. She helped patch tents, carried water, held crying children when their mothers worked late into the night. The boy with Talon's necklace, his name was Sahi. She braided his hair one morning and found herself smiling. A real smile. And for the first time, she wondered if this quiet, this healing, was what Talon had wanted for her all along. But peace doesn't last. Not in their world. Elias came riding in just before dusk. Clara was helping dig snow for a new water pit when she saw him. He looked older, more tired. He hugged her like a father would, then whispered in her ear, "They're coming." Clara pulled back. "How many?" "A dozen. Maybe more. Hunting you." She nodded. "I can lead them away," he offered. "Give you time." "No," she said. "They won't stop until I stop them." He stared at her. "Clara, what are you planning?" She looked at the children, Isahi, at the fire. "I'm not running anymore." That night, she stood beneath the stars, wind in her hair, rifle on her back. She didn't cry, didn't shake. Talon had given his life for hers. Now she would give hers for something bigger than revenge. She would end it, and maybe, just maybe, find him again in whatever came next. She closed her eyes and whispered into the wind, "I'm ready." At the break of dawn, she rode out alone. No cloak, no disguise, just a woman wrapped in sorrow and steel, headed straight for the men who wanted her in chains or dead. The sun bled through the pine branches as she crossed the valley where Talon had once placed feathers in her hair and promised her that no fire could touch her so long as she remembered who she was. She remembered now. She remembered everything. Her mare was tired, hooves churning over the hard snow with a quiet determination. She had braided her hair tight, tied Talon's knife to her belt, and wrapped his old bone necklace around the stock of the rifle. It wasn't for good luck. It was a warning. She didn't expect to survive, but she would be heard. By midday, she spotted smoke, thin lines curling upward in the distance, marking the camp of the U.S. Cavalry Scouts. Elias was right. There were at least a dozen, maybe more. Horses, tents, rifles stacked like firewood. She didn't slow. By the time the guards noticed her silhouette on the ridge, she was already within shouting distance. "Halt!" one of them barked, rifle rising. Clara pulled the reins and lifted both hands. "I've come to surrender." They weren't ready for that. A few men laughed. One came forward, squinting. "Name?" She swallowed the heat burning in her throat. "Clara Hale." That shut them up. "You're the one that escaped Fort Hawthorne," he said. She nodded. "I didn't come to run this time. I came to talk." The man raised a brow. "Talk? To your commander." He studied her for a moment, then whistled. Two others stepped in, rifles raised. They took her weapons, rifle, knife, even the satchel with dried meat, and bound her wrists again. This time she didn't flinch. She needed to get inside. And this was the only way. They brought her to a green canvas tent near the center of camp, where a large man in a brown overcoat sat at a desk made of stolen wood and cigar smoke. His hair was gray at the temples, and he didn't look up right away. When he did, he frowned. "You look smaller than the reports." Clara kept her chin high. "You look dumber." One of the guards raised his rifle, but the officer waved him off. "I'm Colonel Barrett. You've caused quite the mess, Miss Hale." "You caused it," she replied. "I cleaned it up." Barrett chuckled. "You think you're some kind of hero? I think I buried people you ordered murdered. I think I watched children cry because your men burned their homes." His eyes narrowed. They were savages. Hostile. They were families. Unarmed. Praying over their dead. He stood slowly. "You came here to lecture me?" "I came to trade." Barrett's jaw tensed. "You have nothing to offer." Clara stepped forward. "I know where the last camp is." He froze. Her voice lowered. "The one you've been looking for. The one the scouts couldn't find because it's buried in the trees and shielded by cliffs. The one with your missing supply wagons." Barrett stared at her. She didn't blink. "And why would you give that up?" "Because you'll keep coming. Because if I don't end this, they'll die too. Because Talon gave his life to protect them, and I won't let it be for nothing." Barrett leaned back. "So you betray the very people you ran to? Just like that?" Clara stepped forward until only the table stood between them. "No, I'll lead you there. Alone. You won't touch a hair on their heads. You'll speak to the elders. You'll arrange peace. Or I'll slit your throat before your boots touch the dirt." The tent fell silent. Then he smiled. Slow. Nasty. "You really think you're in control?" She met his gaze. "I'm the only one who knows where to go." The ride began the next morning. Barrett insisted on bringing 5 of his best men. Clara rode at the front, wrists bound but eyes clear, every footstep echoing with dread. She took them through frozen creeks, winding valleys, and hollow ravines. She twisted the path enough to disorient them but not lose them, just enough to remind them they needed her. Each night they camped by cold fires. The soldiers watched her like a hawk, but none touched her. Not after the way she broke one man's nose for trying to untie her dress strings. Barrett let it happen, said nothing. He wanted her obedient. What he got was a storm with braids and a death wish. On the 3rd night, she caught one soldier, Mills, scribbling something into a leather-bound journal by lantern light. She crept close. "What's that?" He looked up, startled. "Maps," he said too quickly. She saw the fear in his eyes. "You're trying to draw the route." He hesitated. "I should have let the wolves take you," she whispered, then turned away. They reached the ridge at dusk. Clara dismounted first, raising a hand to the sky. A hawk circled above. "Sahi's hawk." She smiled. "They'll meet you at the stone circle," she said. "One man only. No rifles. No threats." Barrett scoffed. "And you think I trust them?" "You don't need to. Just trust that if you try anything else, I'll kill you myself." He grinned. "Spirited." She spat at his feet. "Coward." Barrett signaled his men to wait. He followed Clara into the trees, one hand on the pistol at his side. They walked in silence for 10 minutes until they reached the circle of stacked stones where Talon had once taught her to listen to the wind. The elders were already waiting. 4 of them, faces lined with time and war. And Sahi. Barrett approached with a politician's charm. "We're not enemies," he said. Clara watched his hands, watched his eyes, waited. One elder stepped forward, speaking slowly. "You came with blood in your mouth. You leave the same unless you speak truth." Barrett hesitated. Then he smiled and lied. "We only want peace." Clara knew then he wasn't going to honor the deal, and she knew what she had to do. She moved fast, spun, snatched the pistol from Barrett's belt, shot Mills in the distance, the one hiding in the trees. Another bullet rang out, Barrett's men retaliating from the ridge. But the elders had prepared. Arrows flew from the woods. Spears followed. Screams echoed down the mountain. Clara dragged Barrett to the ground and pressed the barrel to his throat. "You lied." He coughed blood. "You're insane." "No," she whispered. "I'm free." She didn't shoot him. Not yet. She left him there, broken and bleeding. Let the woods decide his fate. By nightfall, the battle was over. 3 of Barrett's men were dead. 2 fled. The Lakota lost only one, a boy barely older than Sahi. They buried him beneath the stones where Talon had once danced under the moonlight. Clara placed her necklace atop the grave and wept. In the weeks that followed, things shifted. More scouts came, but they left offerings instead of bullets. They asked for talks instead of land. It wasn't perfect. It never would be, but it was a beginning. Clara never returned to town. She stayed with the people who had taken her in. She became part of their stories, their songs. And when Sahi came to her one morning and said, "You are my sister now," she cried again. Because it was real. Because peace, however fragile, had finally bloomed from the ashes. And because she knew Talon was watching. Always. From the fire. From the wind. From her own heart. If this story gripped your soul like it did mine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who still believes love can grow in the ashes of war. What would you have done in Clara's boots? Comment below, and join us next week for another tale where the West wasn't just wild. It was heartbreakingly human. This is Tales of the Wild West. Hit that bell so you never miss a story that stays with you long after the dust settles.